If you are a car enthusiast, this episode is for you. Thomas with Autogefühl and the new Ford Mustang Mach 1, the strongest and raciest Ford Mustang with the 5-liter V8. Above that is only the Shelby version. This now here, the 5-liter V8 with the raciest features. And we directly start with the front. We have the special quotes of past round headlamps here in the front, and depending on the market you can also get additional fog lamps in there. This is of course an even fancier option. The normal headlamps here, the modern ones, are at the sides, and they also look a little bit different than in the US spec, for example. Here in the lower end then, very strong front grille and this really striking color for today. And also one design element is this middle stripe for even more contrast. And measures to make it even racier here. Grille optimization for better cooling of the engine. The front suspension has been optimized for racetrack use. And the Brembo brakes, even with a faster approach. And here it is, the 5-liter V8 with additional rigidity measures here. Quite interesting with the Mach 1 badge. 460 horsepower then in this case. And again, as I said, above that only the Shelby version, which have even more displacement. Acceleration figure here, 4.4 seconds with the 10-speed automatic gearbox or 4.8 seconds with the 6-speed manual. And we thought, you know, the manual is maybe a little bit slower. It's more spectacular, and that's why today it's manual driving. Yeah, and always most spectacular here, the air filter that looks really cool. Hey, in this case also fitting then to the exterior color. First gear up almost to 90 kilometers an hour. And 19-inch wheels, always in black styling here with the Mach 1 for a little more evil look, definitely. Different stylings available, and the typical side profile with the super strong shoulders right here. 4.80 meters or 189 inches is the length. That's of course unchanged. And the cool thing for me about the Ford Mustang in general is that it's affordable. Sorry, I have to go for this one once in every Ford review. But it's really true. I mean, it's a racetrack-ready performance car, and you pay less than $60,000 in the US for this one here, and a little bit more than 60,000 euros in Europe for this one as it stands here right now. And that's, of course, comparing to other cars in this performance range, really a good performance deal. Well, look at that. The brake lights, they always look spectacular. Yeah, really like that. Yay! I could do that all day. I'm looking at it at the mirror at the moment, so I can also see what you're seeing. And of course, this rear in total, really spectacular in design, kind of timeless, and whoo, this one has massive exhaust tips than here for the Mustang Mach 1. Probably also one of the main reasons to go for this one in here. And this retro styling here of the letterings we've seen at the side profile, but here once again at the rear. And some more color choices for you. What about the orange? Also really spectacular, and again, black wheels here in a different styling. So tell me in the comments, which color do you prefer for today? The yellow, the orange maybe? Or what about the red one? That's also fancy red. Or what about the gray one here? From the 4 colors we have here today on location, I mean, in general, I would always pick the blue one, but from the 4 colors we have right here, probably I would take this one home just for a longer period of time. The other ones are more screaming out. Yeah, but this one also really fancy. Mach 1, by the way, if you don't know, speed of sound or 767 miles per hour or 1,235 kilometers per hour. The car won't go that fast, but it's of course always this connotation, you know, breaking through the speed of sound and super cool, super fast and so on. You get the picture. Car key, nothing special actually, and door closing sound. Actually quite okay. Did you hear the horn, by the way? This is active because I left the ignition on, so when Jonas films the interior you can see everything directly. Soft touch here at the inside of the doors, also soft touch here, but the build quality in general also reflects the price somewhat. It's a budget price performance car. Yeah, you really have to say that, especially then you see it on the interior. It's also a little bit outdated, yeah, but then we have 12.3-inch digital instruments. These are actually quite okay. Infotainment system in the middle, soon more about that. The seats here, these are the standard seats. They give a little bit more comfort because they're a little bit more plush, but there are also Recaro sport seats available, showing you right now. And these here are the optional Recaro seats. They have more side support, and Depending on the market, they are also available with cloth on the inside. These would be the recommended raciest option, and then also for best climate comfort when you have these, the upper and lower area also in cloth. In both cases, seating position is low, a little bit lower in the Recaro Sport seats. Here, the normal sport seats are a little bit more open. Headroom then with 1.6 or 6.1, quite close. The Mach 1 is not available as a convertible. Yeah, that's probably the reason I would not go for this one, because I love convertibles, but this Focus here is on the racetrack also, or racetrack capable. That's why coupe only for more rigidity, stiffness and so on. Steering wheel can be adjusted. There we go, up and down like this. And overall you can find a good position. It's not the most comfortable car, but here the focus is on being racy. And look at that manual gearbox here. Wow. In the billiard ball design, just awesome. And already now I feel like, yeah, let's click in the gears. Short look at the controls in the lower part, also airplane-like here for the steering mode. Then the driving modes. You also, for example, have a Sport Plus mode or a racetrack mode or even a drag strip mode. Yeah, there we go. Here you can deactivate the stability control. Then somewhat manual climate unit here, also for seat heating or seat cooling. And the infotainment system, you can see here Apple CarPlay, Android Auto is available when you pick the map. However, also in the Ford Sync system right here, it always goes back to the Apple CarPlay. So you cannot use the car internal GPS while having the phone connected. Maybe that's a way for Ford saying, yeah, our GPS is not the most usable one. And indeed, this is more a basic GPS system here. So indeed, it's better when you just use the Apple CarPlay. A special feature here for the Mach 1, here this badge. So it's also then the chassis number and so on. Why not? A little bit more emotional. Yeah, these digital instruments are quite fancy. Here, for example, you can see in the drag strip mode. So depending on the driving mode, also the whole instruments changed like this. Let's say normal driving mode or sport mode. Yeah, there we go, sport mode. And then we have the racetrack mode. There we go. So which one is your favorite? And when you have the 10-speed automatic gearbox, there it is, then it looks exactly like this. Again, 0.4 seconds faster than the manual gearbox in the acceleration figure. You know, one of our running gags is here, indicating the time code in the comments and then saying Thomas in the back seat, because it's always funny when a tall person gets in tiny cars in the back seat. And this is here the seating position. I could be on the passenger seat, and then this is the amount of legroom that is left. And let's see if I can squeeze myself in there. So, let's go. And yeah, this can actually work. So this car for 3 tall adults. So this is, but yeah, thank you. I'm just doing it for you. Yeah, maybe like for a very short period of time. But behind the seat I would be driving like this, you see, this here would not be possible at all. You know, we not only fight on racetracks, but also fight with the trunks. And here we go, because you're gonna need a trunk in the performance car as well. And the length here is about 40 inches or a meter, so that's very well usable in length. Of course, you're limited here. Loading in and out is not too easy, but you mean, for holiday, it still works. Here, height 18 inches or 45 centimeters. And just a backpack in here, you see, it does easily fit also height-wise. Now the driving part, and we can also set the launch control. Here the rounds per minute, RPM, we can also set it here, maximum 5,500. So they are like steady and not too much, especially when you go here with the manual. The automatic gearbox will have a better launch control, which is quicker, but here with the manual, of course, it's somewhat more emotional. Let's go. Yeah, we're a little bit of wheel spin, but still was a lot of fun. And the thing is, of course, when I dump the clutch immediately, the RPMs drop quite quite fast down. That's absolutely normal. But when I let it, burn a little bit the clutch, really stinks and also goes on the material. So actually people recommend to use the launch control, well, rather for learning. It's quicker when you don't use it and really do it with the fine tuning and so on yourself. But again, better have a closed circuit because otherwise it can be really dangerous. There are a lot of videos out there where people crash their Mustangs with the launch control, so be really careful with that. I'm in the race mode here. Also don't use it on public roads, I recommend that. So, and here, second gear, we have a nice track, and this Mach 1, yeah, nice sound here from the 5-liter V8. When you have the magnetic ride, as we have here today as well, standard for the Mach 1, also adapts in the race mode, making the suspension stiffer. It's not too uncomfortable though, and it's just so much emotion, so much fun to put in the gears, super crisp here. When you are in a sport mode or other sportier modes, then you also hear that here. Shifting down, you have the throttle blip, dual clutching automatically. That's super cool effect, definitely. Here now a little bit slower when we are passing some houses, and it's somehow a very special feeling, you know. So I just learned everything, German driving school, driving manual cars. Nowadays, a lot of driving schools only have automated gearboxes. I know in the US, for example, this is also quite common. So in Germany, yeah, manual gearboxes are actually, you know, let's say, or they used to be even more normal. But meanwhile, again, automatic gearboxes are on the rise, and the manual gearbox will probably die out. But here, for special cars like this, it's so much fun. It's not about the comfort then, not about being stuck in traffic light, just flooring it out and then, bam, putting it in, letting the clutch go, hammering the throttle once again. This is so cool, and of course this we will never have with electric vehicles. I actually love the transition between third and fourth gear. When you just pull it backwards, that's just awesome. And of course, first to second the same, depending also how the gearbox is assorted actually, but my favorite is really like third to fourth. That's my absolute favorite gear transition. And yeah, the throttle blip, like from third back to second, that's my favorite shifting down. So yeah, and of course here, you can always do that. And with such a high displacement, such a big displacement, the engine is also forgiving, and it's not like, oh, I need to be in the exact right gear every moment, because, you know, it's just a big engine, and then you can have it in different gears, of course, not for the optimum performance, but the engine won't complain when it's like a gear higher than it's ideal, or a gear lower than it would be ideal. It's actually quite fine. And I mean, I've been driving also as a private vehicle Jaguar XK for a couple of years with a 5-liter naturally aspirated V8. I also love that engine because you can also, you don't have to race these engines, even if they are race capable. And you can just keep it at lower RPMs and just have this sonorous low frequency sound, which is somehow just satisfying, you know? And if you want, then you can give them more RPM, and it's even cooler, of course. So we can also show you this RPM meter here in this race mode. But even in the race mode, the good thing about the Mustang is it's a GT, so the suspension is also capable for longer journeys. Yeah, even if you're stuck behind someone, you can still use the throttle blip. So cool. Steering, by the way, is quite likable. It's rather light. It also adapts according to the driving modes, but it's actually quite precise, so can't complain about that. Overall, the racy driving package is really good. Does this one here, the Mach 1, now feel way different to a GT? I mean, yeah, they tuned the front suspension a little bit to be racier and so on, but it's not that it would feel like an absolute different vehicle. However, if you go for this one here and compare it to, like, you know, you get a 6-cylinder Mustang rental to drive the highway number 1 or something like that, which is superb. I would absolutely recommend you to do that, especially for all the tourists then coming to the US. So I love, that's also one of my favorite things I do, going to California, getting a Mustang convertible, and then just drive the highway number 1. Absolute dream to do that. So but if you compare that one, to this, like standard Mustang rental, then you feel it's a big difference. Actually, that's quite cool. Here now, when we are in these more rural areas, we can also go then back to the normal driving mode. Then it's also a little bit more silent, a little more subtle. But even in that way, it's really fun to put in the gears in this billiard ball. It doesn't have the best grip though. It rather looks cool. So I think just for, I mean, this is also like this heritage and so on. But just for racing purposes, I would prefer like a microfiber Alcantara shifting knob or something. That would have been definitely cooler. And you also feel that it's somehow one of the timeless vehicles here, the Mustang. But the interior, you feel that it's meanwhile really outdated. That's not like a new car. Exterior-wise, however, has been also most of the generations. Maybe not necessarily the one in the 80s, 90s, something, but the old ones and also the new ones, really timeless for the exterior design. And you can enjoy both. The racy part we showed you in the first place, but also when it gets a little bit more silent or a little bit more subtle right here. Definitely a great GT which can do both actually. Here in the normal driving mode, steering is way softer, so that's definitely better here when we are in one of the sports modes. Then I have a little bit more feedback from the steering wheel. Definitely prefer that. Wow, such a joyride once again with the Mustang. And the very first time I tested the new generation is now meanwhile I think like 7 or 8 years ago, and it's still here on the road in this generation, and it's still so much fun. And manual gearbox here today. I hope you really enjoyed it with me as well. But of course, there's more to come with the Mustang, and when there's a new generation, we'll keep you up. Meanwhile, there's the Mustang Mach-E, the electric version. And also, when you're interested in this video, watch for the Toyota Supra review we have, and also the Audi RS5 versus the BMW M4. If you enjoy this performance car, you will also enjoy these videos about the performance cars.